Finally, my voice came. Okay, you can hear me. Right, let's try that again. Hey guys, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for bearing with me with the technical issues. We've got a bunch of designs that we're going to be reviewing today. And let's just jump straight into it. Let's jump into it. Let's not mess around. Right, first up, we've got a design from Kolule Swaibu. Let's open this in Photoshop. There we go. Oh, this is cool. Cassis Fort Portal? And does that say trip? Yeah, okay, so this looks to be like an activities kind of place, company. And what do we got? We've got waterfalls, relaxation, boating, animals, and then a really cool car graphic down here. I got to be honest, I love this graphic. That graphic is very, very cool. Apart from that shadow being cut off is not so cool. But let's just jump into reviewing this. Dilshin, hello. Quinton, welcome back. No, you did miss the beginning, but it was terrible and full of technical errors. So, don't worry about it. You've missed absolutely nothing. So first off, I think generally this does the job and it looks fine. The only thing I'm not crazy about at the moment is I'm not sure what's going on in the background here. I think they've kind of watermarked this image of kind of trees and things in the background, and there's some sort of details coming through here that it's very difficult to make out exactly what they are, and it kind of looks a little bit, I don't know, a little bit kind of messy round here. So I would probably just continue that forest, like clone that bit there and just have more forest as a more general background. Obviously fix that hard shadow. That's no good. That's got to be fixed. Or you could even take this graphic out altogether. As much as I do like it, I think these images do a better job of selling what the place is. I don't think they're the best images. I think you could probably brighten them up a little bit more. Like this one here is quite difficult to see what's going on. Like, what's this person doing? Are they meditating? It looks like they're meditating or something like that. Maybe just scale that up a bit and brighten up the colors on this image. It's not a particularly well shot photograph, and usually by opening them in Photoshop, just brightness and contrast adjustment layer, you can make a massive difference to your images. It's a really quick and easy technique. My biggest issue with this one is the alignment, and we've got to talk about it. This font here, the color isn't particularly easy to read, and the font itself is nice. It's got some character to it. But I think this font, the color, the drop shadow, I get why you've done the drop shadow. It's kind of, it lifts it off the rest of the graphic a little bit. And there's so much going on that you kind of do need that. I don't know what this font is. That says trip. I don't like this at all, going over the text. That's not working for me. This angle, that shouldn't be on an angle. It's almost straight, but not quite, and it just looks like a mistake. The lettering is way too close together. Got to space that apart a bit more. Again, we've got this font reappearing. That is not a particularly good font. It's not very clear and easy to read. I think that sort of script font, that very elegant script font, has its time and a place. On a graphic about activities, it ain't it. Weddings, yeah, maybe, sure. But on this, that kind of overly fancy and decorative font, it just needs to be a lot easier to read. I think this text in this container here, this is angled a little bit more than this text, and it's in a container, so you kind of get away with it. It's like a kind of badge you're slapping on there, and you can do that whether it's a circle, a square, or a rectangle, and you can get away with kind of tilting it a bit. But just when it's kind of text on its own like that, having that at an angle, that's a risky one. You've got to use that in very specific cases to be able to pull it off. And usually, at least from my experience, you need to kind of anchor it to something, a container or a line or some sort of design element. Like you see here you've got this angled kind of cut separating the main images from the yellow. If you align the text to that, it's kind of, you get away with it because you can see you're aligning it to something. If you just have it floating on an angle on its own in the middle of nowhere, yeah, you use that sparingly is my advice. Okay, we've got to talk about this alignment. Just no. Absolutely not. It has to be central or left aligned. Right, I'm getting the red out. Hello to everyone who's just joined, by the way. Thank you for the tech troubles. Oh, you're welcome, Quentin. That's the service we provide here. Text layout looks a bit weird, says Dilshin. Oh, don't even get me started. Right. Okay, so center of this text is there. Center of this is there. These two lines, they should be, boom, right on top of each other. That should be centered. If you want to left align it, that's fine. Left align it to this edge where you've got the phone numbers, or centrally align it. I think you could kind of get away with both, to be honest, but never centrally align text and misalign a title from the text underneath. Almost never. If you're going to do it, you can get away with it, but I think there are very specific examples where you would do that. Also, the spacing police are coming out again. We've got less spacing here than we do here, and even more egregiously, we have lots of spacing here and no spacing there. This should be pretty consistent all the way around. The left and the right edge should be the same, top and bottom, they should be the same as well. You could have the top and bottom thinner and the left and right wider, but the opposites have always got to match. Again, unless there's a specific example where you wouldn't do that. Otherwise, it just looks kind of sloppy. For want of a better word, it does look a bit sloppy. Okay, down here we've got a ton of phone numbers. These are very clearly phone numbers. You can add icons if you've got space. If we didn't have this car graphic here, sure, you could have this phone icon could be sitting here, nice and big. There we go. And you get away with it. It'll be fine. It's just like a nice visual anchor that someone can look at and go, oh yeah, phone numbers. Okay, cool. But because we're not that lucky, we don't have that much space. This just feels like it's being crammed in there on that left edge. My advice, get rid of it. We don't have the space. We can't afford it. We've got the lovely car adventure graphic there, which I do really like. Get rid of this icon. We don't need it. These are very clearly phone numbers. And I think they're referring to specific, perhaps, people or places. I'm not sure. But there's a lot of phone numbers here. We don't need more stuff cluttering it up. Also, someone pointed out grammar. Close that gap up, close that gap up, close that gap up, and then open up that gap. So I think, yeah, and don't have etc. Don't have etc. Never, like I write etc. in an email to somebody, right? I use it a lot, probably too much. What you want to have is and much more. I'm not a copywriter, but that is a lot more appealing than etc. Yeah. We've got lions, tigers. You can go on a boat, etc. Do you know what I mean? It's much more of a kind of internal email office term, whereas I think if it's a product or a service or a place you're advertising, you want to be a bit more exciting. Like there is much more and much more, that kind of thing. Vincent says, activities not centered with the text. Yes. Kerning for the win. Dutchy Wonders. Yes, absolutely. I think it's very inconsistent here as well. This isn't too bad. You could tighten them up a little bit, but we designers, we have our own personal preferences. Sometimes we want to space the lettering a bit further apart. So I'm okay with that. As long as the kerning is consistent across all letters, hey, space it apart, close it up, do what you like. But words like this, that is way too tight. We've got some letters bumping into each other. This is just, look at this, 7 T and H. The letters are all just kind of, they're climbing on top of each other here. And we've got to space that apart. a little bit more. But and that's the thing. That's the thing. I could see this graphic. I'm not entirely sure where you'd see this, whether it's a kind of, let's have a look. Is this a web graphic, or maybe it'd be a poster or something, or a little flyer you'd give out, maybe a square flyer. Whatever it is, I can imagine receiving this. We've got a zoo near where we live, a little mini one, and I could imagine receiving this, and I would look at it and go, yeah, this is fine. It's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's loads of things I would do design-wise to improve it, but for the most part, it's fine. Apart from all the issues related to the text. So fixing that, sorting out that font, this alignment down here, like the text is the biggest issue. And the great thing is, a lot of this is very easily fixable. You could fix all these issues in 5 or 10 minutes. Boom. And you've just immediately made this graphic so much better. You know, like I could have lots of opinions on the images and the shapes they're contained in and this car and maybe even the title. I can have opinions on that. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. But there's a difference between those creative, stylistic preferences that we're all going to have that might be slightly different, and mistakes like alignment and kerning that are just categorically, no, you got to fix this, and you can fix it very quickly and easily, and it will make your design a bazillion times better. Dilshin says the activate text boat cruise is too close to the edge of the yellow border. Activate boat cruise. That is another point. Yes, that is another good point. It's kind of colliding here. That is a really good point. Boom. No. Give it a bit more breathing space and push that text over to the right. I mean, actually, the easy fix here is to just drop the word swimming. Take this. Drop it down onto the next line. Immediately you've made that first line shorter. That fixes your problem. You can go over lines like this. You can move the text over a line, but again, it needs to look intentional. You either give it the space it needs or you move it way over the line. Having it kind of sat here, it's almost like it's sort of butting up against the line, but it doesn't really know if it wants to be there. But again, super, super quick fix. Do younger people still recognize that icon on the phone, says Greg? That is a very good point. That is a very good point. Yeah, like I was using this icon and the email icon and the globe for websites back when I first started my career. But yeah, nowadays, so I can imagine a lot of people look at this and go, what the hell is that? Yeah, that is a very good point. Yeah, I would probably go with a phone icon if you want to use something like that. Very good point. Stubers. Good afternoon, artists. Welcome. Quinton says, sentence case type often looks misaligned in boxes. Good call, making it all caps. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. The great thing about using all caps inside a box is that your text usually will kind of all hit the cap height, which is the top of the text, and the baseline as well. So it maintains that consistent distance from the text to the edge of the box. Whereas if you had like lowercase, for example, the top of your E would be here, and the top of your K would be there and there. And what that does is it then creates a little bit of space here, more space here, and then on the K you get this weird amount of space, which again can look off. And then you've got to kind of use optical alignment, which is using your eyes more than kind of any kind of technical alignment skills to then make it look central. But yeah, that's probably an entire video in itself about optical alignment. Maybe I should do that, actually. That would be a really useful video. Kind of busy. The phone numbers can be placed right at the bottom in a straight line to create more space. Yeah, I don't know if you get them all in one straight line. But yeah, maybe you could actually get them down here. You could probably shift this illustration up over the text a bit and then get them at least on 2 lines. So just have it go 1, 2, 3 across, and then underneath 1, 2, 3. And again, what that does is just create so much more space here to be able to kind of talk about the activities and have the spacing a lot nicer, I think. Quinton says, what software was this done in? That's a good question. I could probably look that up in Adobe Bridge. If I had to guess, I would say Photoshop. Yeah, I'd say Photoshop if I had to guess. If it was an Adobe thing, maybe Illustrator, but I'm kind of leaning more towards Photoshop. But it could be either or. Right, boom. Next. The phone receiver is in the WhatsApp icon, so I think most people know that icon. Oh yeah, I suppose. Hamza creates, where can I send my design for review? I think we're just going to give it maybe we do one more week of kind of rounding up old designs. I need to have a look and see, and then I will open up submissions again, and we're going to do it a bit differently. I think what I'll do is potentially open up submissions for like 7 days. I know I'm going to get lots of people submit work, and then that will give me enough to then spend the next month reviewing designs. So I think that's the best way to do it, just so I don't accidentally give myself like a giant backlog of stuff. Mark's mistakes with a red pen like a teacher. I know, it makes me feel a bit like a teacher. I got to be honest, I do like it. My my little red pen, my little red marker. Oh, I feel so powerful. Hopefully it's helpful though. It's easier, I think, to mark it up rather than me kind of just explain it. My favorite example of optical alignment are pillars and all of the tricks our eyes play when looking at them. I think it's a good design. It looks like you'd see it in a travel magazine. It's just the small but vital details. Exactly, yeah. And that's the same with a lot of designs, I think, that I've reviewed the last few months. Is it's actually the little things that I pick up on the most. Even a design that looks like a bit of a chaotic mess, conceptually it could be pretty clever, but the execution is just like flawed, and that's where the work needs to happen. That's why I love doing these things, because, you know, by pointing out these things, you can make a design that's not especially great much better in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, such a short amount of time. Right, this one's an interesting one. Ty and Naylor Civil Engineering. Okay, so I've had a little look at this, and I would like to have a bit of a play around. Actually, no, let me grab the other one. Let's grab this here, the full logo. Open up a new document. Boom, let's plonk that in there. Okay, what are your thoughts on this as a logo design? I'm genuinely curious because I've got a few thoughts as well. I personally don't have anything submitted, but I appreciate that everyone will get their work seen and no one gets skipped. Yeah, I think we're still pretty kind of new doing this. It's early days, but I think that's going to be a better way to do it, just to open up submissions for a short period of time, and then everyone kind of gets a chance, a much fairer chance of having their work reviewed, rather than waiting like months and months. Quinton says, InDesign has great text tools for aligning and working with copy. Yeah, InDesign, I used to use InDesign a lot more back when I did kind of more magazines and, you know, covers and brochures and things that are like multi-page documents. It's got some pretty good features in there for kind of managing that more efficiently. But then it has less creative tools. So if your design's going to be super creative, I would use Illustrator. Parent duties. Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's a bit close, the mark versus the text. The grid background looks off. I like this logo, but from what you said message is gone. I almost think the color should be inverted. Okay. So, as a piece of design, I do like this. As a logo, I think there's too many ideas here. There's too many things happening. It does look cool as a graphic, but as a logo, I think they've nailed it. I think they've already nailed it. And I'll show you what I mean. If I can select individual pieces. It might not let me. Let's see if I can go it. There we go. Right. Never mind. We'll just we'll create it from scratch. Yeah, I think they've done a really good job here, and I think they've overcomplicated. This is a really good example, I think, of overcomplicating a design, because there's part of this design that I actually love, and I just can't help but wonder what that would look like if it was simplified a bit more. So I'm going to have to try and find out and see how it looks. So I'm just going to try and very quickly build this out. Ooh, have I got my smart guides on? Ooh, no I haven't. Living dangerously, Dan. You naughty little chicken. Right, let's rotate you around. Snappity snap. And then what have we got? We've got the N, haven't we? We need that at the same angle. Let's bring that, scale it up. This is the beauty of using shortcut keys. You can get a lot done pretty quickly. Yeah, let's something like that. Oops. Okay, let's try this a different way. I'll try and do this roughly, actually, rather than spending kind of forever doing it. I'm not going to worry too much about tightening up all the details. But I think conceptually, you can probably see where I'm going with this. I think they've got a really clever idea. In the T and the N, that bit in the middle, I think that's so clever, and it makes just a really nice mark as well. So let's just try and bring this down. I'm trying not to spend too long on this. Just really curiosity. I had to see. I thought this would look good, and I kind of really just had to see if it would work. And then once you've got that, you could kind of take it over here, and what have they got? They've rounded off some of the corners. Yeah, you could do that. You could round off a few corners. If you really wanted to. There's a few things we could do there. I'm not going to spend too long on it. Maybe... Nah, we'll leave that there. But yeah, that was the bit that really stood out to me as being a cool logo for Ty and Naylor. Don't round it. Yeah, I know. Possibly square, actually. Civil engineering, you know. Keep the edges kind of nice and sharp. The stroke around the TN with the grid background looks off to me. I don't know why though. Yeah, we've got this dotted line as well. And I think, you know, there's a lot of creative things that you could definitely do with this. But yeah, if I were to just, come on, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Let's just throw in a font. Let's, what's a good font? Oh, let's try Korolev. We've got a nice condensed version there. Yeah, I think that needs a bit more thought. But anyway, let's just focus on the mark. What I would probably do is do that, and then just kind of have that like this. Something really simple. And you could wrap that in a cog if you really wanted to, I suppose. So let's just quickly draw a nice big cog. Grab one of those lines. Scale out the bottom, scale it. Whoa. Bring it down. Actually, we could free distort this to kind of get the right shape. Some shapes you can get away with distorting. Rotate you there. Copy paste, boom. Copy paste. Yeah, could we get away with something like that? Yeah, maybe. Again, it's like, does it need it? You know, that's a fair point to have. But yeah, there's a few things you could do with that. I could spend all day playing around with this. But yeah, I think rather than having all of these different ideas, this is a nice kind of graphic. And it's definitely got... I think you're introducing quite a lot of illustrative elements in there. But I think in terms of a logo, it's just way too complicated. It might work in a certain format, but you try getting that in the header of a website, you know. Even if you were to isolate just this bit here with the kind of purple background and the grid, it's a lot of stuff going on. We've got the kind of dashed line, we've got the T in the end kind of hidden in there. I mean, even that, you know, that is literally lifting their original design. You know, I think that in itself is just so much simpler and cleaner. Gear sticking out of the grid looks higher on the top than below, says Vincent. I'd probably drop the square background and tighten up the gear area, drop the dotted lines. Yeah, I think that dash line's not really adding anything except more complication. Yeah, Alex says there's a lot of elements being fit into a condensed space. Exactly. And, you know, whilst I do like it as a graphic, again, it's thinking about practicality. How is this going to be applied to websites, business cards? Some formats might work, some won't. The TN could be a great secondary logo. Yeah, and that's the thing. You could have that same logo and you could have like, maybe, I don't know, maybe a secondary use for that logo if you had like a bigger space to work with. Or if it was on the front cover of, I don't know, like a product brochure or something, where you've got more space to play with. So that is definitely one approach. That's an engineer's font which mostly goes on blueprints. My favorite part of the design was the grid line for the blueprint. Yeah, and I suppose that does make sense. Yeah, it's just trying to get that into... I think if you wanted to keep the grid line, you probably need to just have fewer grid lines, because when you shrink the whole thing down, as you can see, it just becomes like a blurry smush. So you could still keep the grid lines, but half the number of grid lines and integrate that into the design. So just designing this, and yeah, when you got smaller details, it always does get a lot harder. In fact, what other uses did they have? I think they might have had a few. Oh, my bad. Oh, sorry. They did actually have a few other ones. I totally missed that. Yeah, so they do have this one here for websites. I still think it's too complicated, personally. Yeah, okay. So they did have that. I think I can get the dashed line. Get that out of there. Get that out of there. And then there is this version over here. And then we've got the coloured version down here. These colours, they do remind me of something. I'm not sure what it is. Can't remember. There's something this reminds me of really specifically. It's not Madame Two Swords, maybe, or I can't remember. Definitely seen it on something. But yeah, I think just some of those smaller details. This is an interesting one. That's an interesting treatment. I quite like that. I'm not so crazy about the colours, but yeah, these kind of treatments, they feel like they'd just be a little bit more suitable. Dan, could you use one of those softwares that shows what keys you press on screen? I'd love to see the shortcuts and you use while working. Oh, I don't know, actually. Yeah, maybe OBS has something like that built in. I can have a look. I mean, I press a lot of keyboard shortcuts, so it could be a bit crazy. The grid line will look cluttered on the small size. Marriott. Ugh, it might be. I'm not sure. LA Lakers. Yeah, it could be that. It could be. There's something. There is definitely something. Do you know, I think the more I'm looking at this kind of bluey purple with the yellow, I think I'm actually warming to it a little bit. It doesn't really strike me as a typical engineering color. I think I would normally expect to see like a blue or a dark blue or something. Blue, white. Kind of like you got up here, rather than the yellow. But there is something strangely alluring about it. And as I say, as a piece of design, I do like it. That'd be my only question about the practical application at different sizes. But yeah. Right, boom. On to the next. Okay, what have we got? This is a nice quick one. I've got no context for this. Brand name slogan goes here. But I just really wanted to kind of bring this up and call attention to this, because even though there's no context and I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at, I like it. And there's a few reasons why I like it that I thought would be worth covering. So, red pen out. Actually, no. Let's get green. We're going to go with green because this this gets my Dansky seal of approval. So, graphic here. First of all, symmetrical. Big tick. That's amazing. These curves here, consistent. So, the use of curves is consistent where I think it needs to be consistent. Again, we've got nice curves here. Boom. Very nice curve. Not one-sided where it's kind of steep and then it sort of flattens out or anything. Just a nice, smooth, gradual curve. So that, again, brilliant use of something like, I imagine, the pen tool. All symmetrical up here. These curves as well. They're all really, really well done. Yep, they're pretty well done, actually. And one detail I especially liked, if I just zoom in, is as this kind of shape comes in here, it does land right there in that little kind of part of the corner as well. So it's not, you know, it's considered. It's not like the curve just happens to land here or down here. It lands right in that that specific part, which is definitely deliberate. And again, it's just trying to like find different points of interest where you can create a relationship between shapes. And the whole thing is symmetrical. We've got the nice yellow sun. Just really simple yet effective. Perfectly symmetrical. And those are the kind of details I bang on about all the time. You know, if you followed these streams for a while, you'll see that one curve will be like this. The other one will be massive. Down here, they'll be inconsistent. The pen tooling here will be really kind of off. And then this here will be all over the place. And this is just a really great example of those kind of those things that I'm constantly nagging about, those little details and that technical execution. This is a good example of that done right. So I just kind of really wanted to kind of show that one. Have you ever used the Astute Graphics plugin? No, I haven't. I've heard good things about them. It's just one of those things that I've never really used because I think usually because Illustrator does most of what I need just fine, and I wouldn't really teach. I don't really teach using plugins a lot because usually kind of plugins are paid and not everyone has access to those paid plugins. So I like to kind of teach what comes natively with the software because let's be honest, it's bloody expensive enough as it is. So I like to teach people what they can do within the software. But yeah, I'm sure they would save. I'm sure if you're kind of you know, designing for clients regularly, or you're doing certain types of design, there will be certain plugins that they do that will save you a ton of time and make your life easier. So, and I've heard good things about them, so they're definitely worth checking out. But just for me, a lot of what I do is kind of teaching these days, so I just haven't. Oh, thanks, Alex. I appreciate that. Amazing. Do you mind looking at an Amazon page I worked on? Yes, sure. You'll need to send me the link, though. So if you send the link to hello@dansky.com. Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to post it in the chat. What's the best way to do this? Just trying to think of the best way to do this, Alex. If I just switch, let me just switch back to the outro a second and I'll just whip up my emails. There we go. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that my emails don't like flash up on screen or anything. So what am I doing? Where have we gone? Stream. Okay. Hello at. Cool. Right. If you send it there and I will have a look. It's not over. Alex busting out the super chat. If you don't mind, what do you use for screen recording? For the streams, I use something called OBS. And what a prank. And for regular recording, I use something called ScreenFlow. It's for macOS only, I believe, and it just has the features that I love. But honestly, if you're going to do recording or streaming, OBS is really good, simple to use, very free. Very free? It's definitely free. And there's lots of tutorials for OBS as well because it's so popular. So ScreenFlow is paid, but it's just, you know, it's a product that I thought, yeah, this is worth this is worth the money. Okay. Yeah, so if you send it, Alex, to that email, hello@dansky.com, I'll be able to then pick it up and we can have a look. Right. Okay, who have we got next? Oh, I'm going to say I've got a couple that I'm going to save for later on. They're going to be quite interesting to go through, actually. We've got this one here, which I really like. I've got to show this because this is cool. Okay, next up. This is by Nicholas from Poland. And this is awesome. So we've got this kind of isometric style design here. If I zoom in, you can see they've made a laptop graphic. And it's a really interesting use of kind of clean lines, simple, solid, one color shading. You can see there's no gradients on here or anything. But then the icons over here and the kind of the UI stuff has this sort of glow to it. And kind of like a glass look as well, which is interesting because there's no, at least not that I can see, any obvious gradients. Yet they've still created like a really nice kind of glass button look. Because almost if these are like touch buttons. And then down here, you can kind of see the blur get more blurred as you go down. Which is quite interesting. It's not something I see all that often, actually. That use of kind of clean graphics with certain elements that are blurred. I think the blur actually is probably a bit too much for me. Like here, for example, I'm just not a massive fan of these dashed lines being blurred. I think they could have the glow, but that probably wouldn't stand out against the white, if I'm honest. But yeah, I don't know about that. And then there's kind of like a reflection floating in the sky. This one has a hard reflection. This one's got a blurry reflection. So I do like the use of the blur. I don't know why there's a floating reflection. I'm not entirely sure. I would imagine you get reflections probably here would be a bit, it would make a bit more sense, I think. But scent. Okay, thank you, Alex. I'll take a look in a second. But yeah, I love this on screen. This looks really cool. The way they've used blur to create like a kind of a neon effect, that is something that I really like. I think kind of using it out here just randomly as these lines and the reflections, just floating reflections. I'm not sure about that, but as far as like a more illustrative graphic goes, yeah, this is really, really cool. Availability, easy maintenance, economical, admin console. Yeah, really cool. And there's a really easy way to make things isometric, actually. Let's just whip up Illustrator and I'll show you. A different way in Photoshop, but if you are using Illustrator and you want to make stuff isometric the easy way, I think you'll like this. So I've got a square here. Let's go red. Effect, 3D, blah, blah, blah. And then you want to go extrude and bevel. And down here you've got some isometric presets. You know, you've got left and right, which is great. And then you've got top and bottom as well. So it kind of depends which way you want everything oriented. So if I just do that one there, then I'll make another square. And let's apply that effect again, and maybe we'll change this one here to, we'll go for isometric top, make that a bit darker perhaps. And then I can adjust the shape of this still. This is all fully adjustable, but it will still maintain those isometric proportions. So that is pretty cool. There we go. Something like that. I could obviously tinker around with that until it's perfect. But yeah, it's a really quick and easy way to make stuff isometric. And if you wanted to copy that to another shape, what you could do, if you select both of these and go into the layers panel and open it up, here you can see the object with the 3D effect, and then here you can see my 2D rectangle. If you hold down Alt or Option on the keyboard over the circle of the thing you want to copy, and then click, I'm still holding down Alt or Option, I can drag this 3D effect onto my 2D layer and it instantly gets applied. So that's a really quick and easy way to copy any 3D effects that you do from one object to another one really, really quickly. Right, let's have a look. Hi Dansky, I worked on the top ecom tiles for this product page. It's an eye cream from Bausch & Lomb. Please let me know what you think. Okay, let's open this up. Let's open it up. I worked on the top e-commerce tiles. Right, let's whip this up here. This is from Alex. Okay, when you say top e-commerce tiles, Alex, are we talking about these objects here? These images here? Just to check we're looking at the the right thing. Yes, those guys. Okay, excellent. Bausch & Lomb. I mean, first of all, brightening eye cream. It's not something I would use personally. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I like it. It looks nice. I love the kind of silver and purple. Very classy kind of color combination. Looks expensive. I love that blob. If that's meant to be a blob of cream, I love that. It's such a... It looks like... You know when you find like a perfect stone or a perfect pebble and it's super smooth and shiny? That's what it looks like. It's like I want to pick it up and I want to stroke it. That's how it makes me feel. But weird smooth stone urges aside, this is a really, yeah, I'm gonna have to hover, which is kind of annoying. So I want to sort of highlight certain bits, so that preview's going to get a bit annoying. But yeah, this is a really good example of using bold and light fonts in conjunction with each other to highlight certain words. So it's all the same color, but you know, you're really selling the hypoallergenic part of it and clean ingredients. They're bold, and it's just it looks nice as well. It's always a great pairing when you've got a thick heavy font and a light font. It's a really, really quick and easy win. And you can use just the same font as well, so you don't need to have different font styles. What have we got here? Free from. And that's what it doesn't contain. Yeah, that's all good. This one's a bit of a weird one. You see here the box containing free from. First of all, your spacing left and right is on point. That is exactly how you do it, what I was talking about earlier. But this is going to be potentially a slightly controversial one as far as design goes. And what do you think to this? Should Alex align the rounded rectangle in line with the F on fragrance and the A on alcohol? Or should he move the box and the text to the left slightly so that the F in the word free lines up with the text? Does that make sense? And that might be a slightly controversial one to throw out there, because this is something that I struggle with when designing. Do you align to the container, Or do you move the container to the left a few pixels and align to the text inside the container? I don't think there is a right answer per se, but it's definitely a challenge that I come up against quite a lot when designing stuff. Lol, what's in that coffee cup, Dansky? What, this one? Coffee. Just a nice little white Americano. What do we think about the alignment? This composition gives a cleaner layout. Yeah, that is a good point. It does keep everything nice and tidy, kind of in a straight line. Yeah, it's a weird one. I kind of look at it, and I sort of look at it, and the free from, to me, it looks like it's actually inset to the right. But then I understand you're obviously aligning to the container, so it's that's why I wanted to ask the question. I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer. I think the box needs to go. It's going to be a never-ending battle. Yeah, that is another approach. One thing I will say about the box is it does clearly make that section stand out as a title. And if you take that out of the box, it is going to make the hierarchy between all of the hierarchy of all the text kind of seem a little bit it's going to be less obvious. You know, this text at the top isn't exactly massively bigger. So I think you'd need to kind of, if you took it out of the box, you'd need to kind of set that hierarchy in between the title, the main title, the subtitle, and then the ingredients it's free from. You need to kind of exaggerate that hierarchy a bit more. That's one thing it does do very well, is kind of head up this list. Jutting out, it looks kind of funny. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get that. I can imagine that. You would get that kind of... I mean, one thing you could do to kind of reinforce that alignment is to have the edges squared off instead of rounded, but hey, that's getting into the nitty-gritty of design. You know, it's your design, not mine. That's going to be a kind of personal thing. Yeah, this looks really nice. Nice big text. I think I would personally, again, this is a nitty-gritty point, I would bring the lines closer together and just tighten that leading up ever so slightly. I think you can afford to do that because you don't have any, like you see the descender on the G there, it's not going to collide with anything. So you probably could tighten up that spacing a little bit. Yeah, it looks really nice, actually. What else have we got? Yeah, this is a good one. I'd bring the 2 and the simple a bit closer together, and the 2 looks to be a few pixels higher than the S. Real kind of minor thing, but I would just, that gap to me stands out as a bit wide. But yeah, what we're looking at, spacing, left and right is on point. Yeah, you could probably bring the whole block, all this text up a few pixels as well. It's a weird one because, you know, you've got the 2 here that is bigger. So that is kind of, I don't want to say messing up the alignment, but that is gonna cause the problem. But actually, when we look at in terms of aligning the text here vertically, we should be looking at the majority of the text. And if we ignore that 2, because that is the minority for a second, it will then look, if we get rid of the 2 for a second, the text will look like it's too low. So I think you've got to align for the majority in this sort of case. And so I would kind of just nudge it up a little bit and then bring the 2 back in. The 2 might look a bit closer to the top section then, but then the majority of the text will feel a bit more central. And this bit, yeah, I think this looks good. Yeah. Use twice daily on cleansed skin. That text in the number 1 is a few pixels too low. I'd bring that up. Number 2 is absolutely perfect, central, top and bottom. Number 1 just feels a bit low. These are really kind of minor things I'm picking up, by the way. You know, generally this all looks really, really good. But that is my job. That is what I do. I am the attention to detail police, and this, I just can't help it. This is the kind of stuff that I notice. Quinton says, in this case, I'd align the text in the box to the rest of the text. Oh, there might be a bit of a delay on the stream. That one. Yeah. Dr. Eric Berg, he does not recommend chemicals for the face on the market. He has his own brand. I know Dr. Berg. Oh, I've not watched him for a long time. Yeah, again, this looks really nice. Clear title, and coming back to hierarchy, you've got a clear title here. Real science, real results. This is clearly the subtext. It's in a lighter font as well, so that's great. And then you've got this tag, the science of eye beauty. I'm guessing that might be the tagline, kind of coming out from the bottom. And then you've got really nice product image. Again, I'm nitpicking. I would grab everything and just shift it up a little bit. The spacing above, you look to have a few more pixels up there than down there, but I mean, I'm aware I'm nitpicking here. But yeah, like I say, that's the kind of thing that I just notice, this sort of stuff. It's just one of those things. Also, I've just noticed as well, yeah, there's not a lot of text here, so I think you get away with it. I see why you've done the right alignment, because then it kind of aligns to the box, and I appreciate why you've done that. That is like, normally you wouldn't right align things, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier in the stream. Alex has aligned this to something very, very obvious, like the box. So we have this line here. So he's doing something that you wouldn't normally do, which would be like right aligning text like this. It would normally be like central or left. But there is a relationship between this text and the box, so he can kind of get away with it. If this box wasn't here and it was a product of a different shape and there wasn't this kind of straight edge here, the right alignment, if it was just floating in space, for example, would look weird. Especially kind of in the Western world where we kind of read left to right and a lot of things are left aligned. But because he's kind of anchored it alongside that box, you get away with it. Yeah, and again, this is really nice. Really good use of space here as well. So we've got Lumify Eye Illuminations up here. Nice big title down here. Again, it's the same font, but it's not bold. We've gone with a lightweight. And this kind of really allows the product and the detail and the kind of actual cream itself to kind of stand out. Alex could easily just pump in a load of text in this empty space and it would just distract from the product. But instead, hey, it just kind of lets you look at the product and lets it kind of speak for itself. So that is a good use of just having that kind of space to just let everything breathe. But yeah, really, really cool. So hopefully that was helpful, Alex. But yeah, cool, amazing. And thank you for the super chat as well. I really appreciate it. Right. Boom. What time is it? Oh my goodness, how has it gone 4 o'clock already? Right. Okay. Okay. Right. I'm going to make the assumption that it's not meant to have this big white box here. Let this space around the edge. So I'm going to crop it. Paramore styling, where we make people look good and feel good. So this is some sort of a barber's. Yeah. So this is a tricky one. I'm not sure what this thing's called, the barber thing with the the red, white and blue stripes. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but I do like it. If anyone knows, please let me know in the chat. Kai, yeah, oh no, the infamous white outlines. Yes, we talked about this before, and I'm getting to it. Right. So, okay. Yeah, pet peeve of mine. I don't like white outlines on colored text. I think actually this is probably a less egregious example of what we did on the last stream because we've got the whole red, white, and blue thing going on. I think you can kind of get away with it actually. The problem is I just don't like either of these fonts. I don't think they pair well. They don't lock together very well. This font looks skewed and sheared on an angle. And I don't like the font choice. I think if you had a bolder font and yeah, just definitely a bolder font, I think you could probably get away with it. But we've got two fonts here, neither of which are particularly good on their own. Paired together, it's not a good start with the kind of the font. Then we've got the circle behind. We've got the black, the white, and the black circle. This isn't aligned to anything. I mean, I feel like they've aligned this Paramore text to the circle and the barber pole thing as a whole. Yeah, let's get a different color. Let's get bright yellow out. I think red will just kind of blend in. Whoa, where have I gone? Oh my god, this magic mouse is way too sensitive. Calm down. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. I like the barber pole. I think you could maybe integrate that with the text. These stars along the top, just get rid of them. Get rid. You could actually integrate, you could put the barber pole thing in the circle and have the Paramore text going here and styling under here. Then you could keep the circles and kind of make it into like a bit of a crest, a bit of an emblem. That is a different approach you could take, which would look good. And then you could include the stars and that kind of thing. But at the moment, I'm looking at it and going, oh, this is just adding more to a design that is already way too busy. The spacing as well is bigger there, thinner there, and bigger there. So the spacing isn't actually consistent all the way around. It's miles away on top, really tight on the bottom. So yeah, first point, lose the stars if this is the design we're going to go with. I don't like this font here. This font just feels like standard placeholder font, and it's not central. It's too close here as well. And I think if we're kind of talking about focusing on the logo, there are places where you would use a tagline and you could have a longer tagline like this. On a logo though, no, get rid. So get rid. In fact, let's just isolate everything we want to get rid of. Or I should say I want to get rid of. Estimated established 2015. So again, if you were going to take this into like an emblem design and have your logo that way, which I think would look amazing because you could then integrate the circle with the barber pole. You could have some scissors, some products. You could have the, EST 2015 down here, Paramore around there, styling underneath. You get your stars in and then you get a really cool graphic. In fact, it kind of makes me want to try that out. That's probably one way that you could go. You just turn this into like a really beautiful emblem, that kind of logo. But at the moment, it's just kind of floating over here. And yeah, I'm just not loving it overall. I think there's just so many elements and nothing feels aligned to anything. In fact, the more I'm looking at it, the more I feel like you should lean into that style of creating like a logo, a badge, an emblem. I think that would look genuinely awesome. It would look really, really cool. You get your stars in, you get your EST 2015. You could even get your tagline in it. You could have the Paramore styling and the thing, and then you... Obviously, it's quite difficult for me to mock that up. I've just scribbled loads of yellow over it. But... yeah, I mean, fundamentally, having the big circle as the big black and yellow circle as a thing, and then having the pole alongside it, it's just over-designed. I don't know, maybe this would be a good one to redesign, actually, because I think I could make this look pretty good. But at the moment, there's it's too many ideas, and I think they've gone about this in executing it in the wrong way. I think they've tried to get all of these different ideas in there, and actually trying to get everything in there with this type of design doesn't work. But like I say, if you were to go with like an emblem or a badge or a crest or something like that, you can get all this stuff in there and make it work. Do you see what I mean? And so I think they've kind of, they've tried to get it in, but they've kind of chosen the wrong approach, and it's ended up like this. But that would be an interesting one to kind of play around with, actually. Yeah, if I could get that looking really good and create like my own design, but use all the information and get that looking good, that would be a really interesting example, actually, I think, of taking a design done with lots of information, done in the wrong they've gone down the wrong approach, in my opinion, and then doing that same design with all the styling. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Calm down, Dan. Take that same brand and all the information and put it in a more suitable, present it in a more suitable logo format. Yeah, that'll be a really interesting one, I think, to kind of look at the before and the after. McKenna says, remove the stroke, get less generic fonts. Do you know, I would actually argue that those fonts, especially these title ones, don't look generic. I think they are very less commonly used fonts, but I don't like them. And this bottom one feels kind of skewed, like it's been sheared in Illustrator. But I do like this barber pole. I think you could do something pretty cool with that. And there's a nice color palette as well. The red, white, and blue. It's very kind of, especially with this bit on the right, very standard barber colors. But I do like the colors that they've chosen. Red, white, and blue, I think would look really good. I might have to play around with this one. Devin says, what if you took the P and the S and made it look like the stripes on the pole? I mean, I'm not sure if that's what you meant. The P and an S? I don't know. Maybe. We need to get a whiteboard session going so we can all share a whiteboard and scribble together. That would be a lot of fun. Kai says, looks odd with the upper word straight and the lower one slanted. Slanted could work with asymmetry, but both looks off. Yeah, I think a lot of things. Clearly, I've got a lot of opinions on this. It would be fun to use this one as a bit of a case study, actually, if I can find some time to rework this in a different format. I think that would probably make quite an interesting video format as well. Because inherently there are some good ideas in here. They've just, in my opinion, chosen the wrong type of logo design to present this information. And I think just by picking a slightly different approach, like an emblem or a badge, like I said, I think you can make all of this information work. But yeah, it'd be interesting. Doesn't feel personal to the barber. What makes the shop unique unless they're super patriotic, I guess? Yeah, I suppose if it was an American barber, red, white, and blue. Actually, that's the same colours as the Union Jack as well, like the UK flag. So, yeah. I've got so many ideas flowing for that one. There's a lot you could do with that. There really is. Even with the red, white, and blue, you could really make that kind of stand out, unique. Oh, my brain is ticking now. My brain is ticking. It looks like a 1960s US barbershop logo. Yeah. Where submit designs for review? Nowhere at the moment. We will be opening up submissions again in about probably a week or so. What would it look like as neon text inside the black circle and neon barber pole? I think it would probably look pretty cool. Yeah, you got to be careful with neon. You kind of you definitely want to, I think it's good to have a logo design that can work without neon, generally, because sometimes neon, depending on how you're printing, if you've got to print things, doesn't always print especially well when you've got gradients and blurs and things. So I think if you were going to have a neon logo, definitely kind of get a non-neon logo version first and make sure the logo is solid before you start adding kind of blurs and effects and things. But I think I get what you're saying. If you were to kind of, you'd need it to be dark for the neon to kind of stand out. But I think it would look pretty cool. I mean, I can imagine a barbershop, right, that's got like all the black branding, and then they have like a neon barber pole going bzz, bzz, bzz outside, like on the wall. That would look pretty cool. But how that neon would translate to a business card, I don't know. Right, one more. The poll is a generic vector you can download online, but they were easy to make yourself and personalize. Yeah, for sure. You could definitely do something different with that. And if I were to kind of make this as an emblem or something, I would probably stylize it in a way that it fits. Okay, this is interesting. One girl, Mira, she is a nurse. Her favorite fruit is mango, and hobbies are traveling and dancing. Her favorite color is black and red. Basically, I tried to show all of the things in her name. This is really, really cool. And I don't know, what do you guys think about this? Like, I want to do a competition soon. A few people have mentioned doing something like that. Wouldn't that be really cool to ask everyone to design their own name, essentially as a graphic, but then every letter you design around something that you like. So for me, my name is Dan. D would be design. A would be apples. I've got an obsession with apples at the moment, don't ask. N would be, what do I like that starts with N? Nothing. So N would just be an invisible letter. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you see my point? That I think that would be like a really cool idea for a competition. Oh no, more parent duties. I feel you, Quinton. Thanks for stopping by, man. I'll see you later. Oh, good old parent duties. Kai says, yes, let's do it. Yeah, that sounds... Okay, yeah, that sounds... I thought... that's the first thing I thought when I saw this, was like a competition like that. It's the kind of thing that would be very, very unique to everyone. And the first logo I did at college, right, we had to take our name and do just that. We had to kind of... I should have tried to find a visual of it. I'll see if I can find it at some point. But basically, I had to write my name, which was Dan. And at the time, I had crazy hairstyles back in the day of like hair straighteners and hair wax and all sorts of stuff. Just don't ask. You don't want to see photos. We'll keep those buried. But yeah, I liked my hair. So what I did was I kind of had the word Dan written in a custom font, and then I added this sort of very kind of spiky hair-like texture to the top of the letters. And so it's kind of like this, but they've done it for every letter. So you kind of learn something about the person from the design, which is really cool. So yeah, this is a weird one. This isn't, this isn't really a logo per se, but this is actually more of an expression of somebody. And I love that. You know, the way they've got the person dancing here instead of the letter. There's a mango. I first thought that was a pepper, but yeah. So I think with something like this, if I were to critique this as a piece of design, I would say you kind of need to go with black and one color throughout, or you need to kind of just keep it black and white. I don't know, yeah. Maybe black and white would have worked better. Black there, and then done the road in black and white as well. But and this one on the end, the doctor kind of, yeah. I don't know, the doctor kind of feels like an icon that's just been sort of grabbed from the internet and plonked on there. Do you know what I mean? Rather than like being designed to fit the letter A. But yeah, this was just more kind of about the idea, really. I would like to run this as a prompt for Adobe Firefly. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? We could do that competition, but with a common word. Some people's names would be much harder than others. Yeah, that's a good point. I think I'd probably want to do it without any kind of AI stuff, just to keep it more about the creator and the creativity rather than just using AI to just generate a final result. Yeah, there's not really any skill involved in that. Not in my opinion, anyway. The lines of A could be the stethoscope. Yeah, that's what I mean. You could I feel like that's just, yeah, you've got that shape there, the stethoscope. That could literally be the top of the A. Boom. Nice one. But yeah, it was just more about the principle, really, just or the idea behind it. I feel like that would be pretty cool. Okay, so if we were going to pick one word instead of everybody doing their own name, I mean, I guess some people would have quite long names, so they'd have a lot of work. If we were to pick one word that everyone has to kind of redesign in their own way, what would we pick? Maybe design or create, or what other words kind of are relevant to like what we do with designing things? Yeah, design kind of seems like the obvious one, doesn't it? Dansky. No, I don't want it to be all about me. It'd be really nice to kind of have a more generic word around design and creativity. Yeah. Kerning. Yeah. Typography, color. Yeah. Final last one.psd. Every letter is unique too. Yeah, maybe design. Maybe design would be a good one. It's 6 letters, so it's not like, it's not like something like creativity, which is however many letters, 11 or 12. Yeah, maybe we'll do design. That would be a good one. Yeah, that would be interesting, actually. That would be fun. Oh, I've got so many ideas going now. Design has my vote. Simple, yeah. Yeah, I think that would probably be a good place to start. I think you're right. I think if we did another one, if people liked it and we did another one in the future, then we could pick a word that's a bit more kind of out there, a bit more random. But yeah, that would be really fun and very interesting to see what people come up with. But yeah, I just wanted to show that one because yeah, there's a really cool idea behind that. I could critique this design-wise to the moon and back. There's a lot I would change, probably everything. The bit I love the most is the person dancing in place of the eye. And but yeah, really nice kind of idea. I do like that. Ha. Oh, amazing. Right, that's going to do it for today's stream design review. And then what have we got? Let me check my calendar. I'm going to try and get back to the normal times on Tuesday, Thursday. What do we got? Yeah, so we should be all good for Thursday at 3. But if anything changes, I will let you know on the channel. And we're going to do design something. So if you do, guys, if you do have any ideas for things you would like me to cover specifically on the Thursday stream, honestly, just, comment on the community posts, drop me an email, hello@dansky.com, whatever it is, just let me know. I kind of just have a bunch of ideas and I kind of make it up as I go along on the Thursday. It's just really kind of about hanging out and having some fun. But if there's something you want me to cover specifically, do let me know in advance and then I can try and prep something and just be as useful as possible. But Hey, where are those 9 minutes we lost at the start of the stream? Oh, we don't talk about the start of the stream. We don't talk about that. Those technical issues. What technical issues? Never happened. Oh, amazing. Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. Have a fantastic week. And yeah, I'll see you on Thursday.